Somebody recently saw, like, when you get into politics, once you vote someone in, they just stop doing like what you want, and Ina's like the exact opposite. Like, she's always looking for a way to help the people. So thank you, and I know you would. That's why it's so refreshing and so wonderful. So thank you for joining us. And we have some more special guests. So let's say hi to Ronnie. Who was there at the inception of our program.
Help birth, right?
Yeah, he helped birth and nurture and carry for many years, and sent us off to college, and now you got to get us situated after college, right? Okay. So, and obviously Rabbi Katzin.
That's a boy. Let's say it.
Yes. I know. I think some of the students. I think we have a few. Well, I think Sarah was at the Shabbaton in Woodmere, right? So you okay? That's a dry place. And Rabbi Katzin obviously worked so hard.
And Rebecca.
Rebecca was here last night till 1 o'clock in the morning, together with Sarah and I, because we had a holiday. Where I didn't follow for the first time in my entire life. So thank you, Rebecca. And then she was here early this morning to set up for this. Rebecca, you are unbelievable.
Rabbi Reuven.
I have a lot of
Roosevelt is hosting tomorrow night's dinner, Shabbat dinner.
Oh, wow.
So if anyone wants to join, I think there might be a few spots up. Guys, you know the term, like we coined a term like maybe about 10 years ago. It's called Jew-leverty, okay? So we're sitting amongst some serious Jew-leverties here. Really fangirling. Okay, so thank you so much. And obviously, our friends from Manhattan Beach, who everybody recognizes from Thursday Night Chill, obviously, right, guys? So welcome. They're basically my new besties. So thank you for coming. And all of you guys, thank you for coming, and I hope you come to, I think many of you come already here to this beautiful home. And last but not least, Dr. Baby Zakheim. Woo!
Going on.
Yeah. Where we are tonight, I know many of you know where we are. Very good time for class. Guys. I think there's some more chairs by the stairs. But I just wanted to explain, I know many of you I've seen come to Beis Shlomo before, but for those of you that are here for the first time, this is a pure Chesed home. It's a pure home we're giving to the Jewish people. And they started this home, built this home in honor of her late husband. And every time, I really hope he's up there really enjoying every time we walk in here and get use out of this home and spend time here. And I know he's super happy every time this house is getting fuller and fuller each night. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. I think there's something going on here every night, every day, and maybe twice a day. So really, we're gonna wear it out, okay? So for sure, and so thank you so much, Ray, for allowing us to be here and making this
happen. Can I give a shout out also for Tuesday night's class with Rabbi Ibragimov?
Yes, this is girls seminary. So I was gonna say, guys, follow Beis Shlomo on Instagram. I can send you the handle, and also just look out for obviously all the great emails. We notify you. There is a special girls seminary that's actually coming to the 2-year close. I guess they're going to start a new chapter, a new season in the fall. Please ask us more about that. For girls that are interested in learning beyond what you did at your rage courses and on your Israel trips with rage. So anyway,
and they had a graduation this Shabbat. We did a graduation up in the mountains. And it was an amazing graduation. It was really great. These girls have surpassed anything that you could possibly imagine in terms of, one of them was actually sitting next to me at the table, you'll enjoy this, and she said, "Oh, did you wash your broccoli?" Because
No, I'm on the chat. The season of checking for bugs was not. Bug checking few sessions were like a bad time. I was staying away from the chat. It was like really intimidating and all that stuff. Okay, but it was very, very interesting. Anyway, sorry, Rabbi, for taking of your time. We're just so excited to have everyone here. So again, and we're really looking forward to having you here. We've been trying to make this happen for a little while now. So really, they're all here to see you. So I'm just gonna move out of the way. Thank you.
I'm actually here to see everybody here. That's what I did. First of all, I'm honored to be here. For so many reasons. I honestly would have prepared a very different kind of talk if I would have known who's actually in the room tonight. But I will say this, that Dr. Faye and her involvement in Rage was perfect timing. Her enthusiasm, her energy, charisma, her passion definitely makes a major difference in everything that Rage does as an organization. And for me, it's been like almost like a changing of the guards a little bit. Not that he's gone, but like Ronnie Hirsch was that enthusiasm and energy that helped kick off that program and organization. And now Faye, like you've created something that this home is exactly what I've been saying Rage needed for so many years. A place that was not institutional, but a home that people could walk into, feel comfortable, they could just do what they do in their own home and not judgmental, a home in an environment which is comfortable and welcomes everybody. That's what this place is. I feel very welcome here. Thank you so much for everything.
I do have an ulterior motive.
Okay, good.
And that's not about Ronnie Hirsch having started Rage and being taken over by Faye Zakhar.
No,
Tonight we're announcing that Ronnie Hirsch and Faye Zakhar are working together on Rage.
As far as I know, we never stopped, but whatever. But I'll love to see the partnership. All right. It was two stories actually. One, this is for Ronnie actually. This is you'll appreciate this, Faye. A good friend of mine, Ari Jacobson, calls me up last night and says, "Reuven, I got to tell you a story." I said, "What's up?" He's like, "Listen," he's like, my friend C. Saperstein, he lives on off of Keene, right across from Thurm. Just built that house over there. He says Friday night is around 2:30 in the morning. His dog starts barking uncontrollably. Now there's a lot of burglaries going around and so on and so forth. So he's nervous. Someone's why is the dog barking? The dog's not stopping. It's 10 minutes barking. His wife says there's someone trying to break in the front door. Someone's trying to get into the house, and he calls the police. He's terrified. The police will be there. Okay, 10 minutes pass. The police don't come. They don't have Ina Vernicov in that district, so the police are not even there. So
Hold on a second.
This is a party for us.
This is
Steve Saperstein on my phone.
Sweet Saperstein. Wrong guy. Anyway, anyway, the kids there is that they see this guy who's trying to break. He can't get to the front door. He's going through the back door. He's trying to move through the windows, and he doesn't know what to do. So he calls the police back. They're like, "We're going to get there." Anyway, he sees this guy walk away with another hooded figure away from the house. Okay, 20 minutes later, he gets a phone call from the police saying, "We found the perpetrators on Broadway," right? And he's like, "Have you ever heard of something called Rage?" He's like, "Yeah, the Russian American Jewish experience." He's like, "Yeah, apparently these two guys were locked out of their house. They thought that your house was their house, and they couldn't get in, and they were trying to get into the house. Look, they ended up driving them to their hosts at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they made sure they got in their cave. So that was all cleared up. But anyway, it reminds me a little bit. One of the reasons why I often got a lot of pushback from friends, like, why are you working with the Russian community in Brooklyn? Like, you were working on campus, you're doing so many other things, why this community? I'd like to summarize it with this particular story. This actually happened on a radio trip many years ago. It was, if you've been on a radio trip, you know that we give the group 24 hours to explore Israel. We want the students to feel empowered, to get lost in the land, to love the land, to get to know the shawarma guy and the falafel guy by name and so on and so forth. They have 24 hours to go wherever they want. So during that time, often, I'm doing my thing. I'm catching up family and friends. So I get into this cab driver. I get into that cab. And the cab driver looks at me. He sees my kippah. He says, I want to let you know, I don't believe in God. That's how he starts the conversation. Like, I don't believe in God. Don't let me do God. I don't believe in your God. I'm like, oh, okay. I just want to ride. Like, I don't want to have a philosophical conversation. Don't engage me in anything. I just want to get to point A to point B. So, I've done this long enough to know that these guys really just want to be embraced. So I said to him, listen, how long you been a driver for? He's like, for many years. And I'm like, are you making good money? Baruch Hashem. And I find that, that weird contrast of I don't believe, but I'm going to thank God, is something that I found very much a part of the Russian community when I started way back when. This duality of, well, I'm not sure if this is true, or I don't want to believe, but I believe in something, but I don't want to articulate it. And that's something that, I've spent the last, since 2009, it's going to be a long time already, almost 13 years, of trying to come up with a language that's meaningful for a young group of people whose heritage was completely robbed and stolen from them. And I believe that. Like, my mission at Rage was always thinking about how these are people that I'm speaking in front of, the people who I let into my house, the people who I'm traveling around the world with, were individuals whose families were robbed of their heritage, and I'm in this unique position to try to give them some meaning, an opportunity to reacquaint them with something that actually belonged to them. And certainly Lag BaOmer, as far as a holiday, is a holiday that most Russian Jews don't know about. Right? Most Jews don't even know about Lag BaOmer. And the question is, what is it that we're going to be celebrating? The basic concept for tonight is this question of the power of unity. And I want to use this as a way of kind of inspiring the group here to learn a little bit about Lag BaOmer and think a little bit about what we could be doing during this time of the year for ourselves and for the world at large. So we know that Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, right? 24,000 students, and they all died. They died from the second night of Passover until the 33rd of Lag BaOmer. It's machloket. It's whether or not if they stopped dying on the 33rd, they stopped dying on the 34th. It doesn't really matter. 24,000 students, they died. Okay? And the Gemara tells us, Gemara in Yevamot tells us that the reason why they died is because it says they did not give each other respect. Right? It's a very severe punishment to have so many people die because of lack of respect. Right? Why is this kavod, this lack of respect, such a big deal for these students? And then the Gemara continues and says, Ad Sheba Rabbi Akiva, until Rabbi Akiva comes back, gets out of Tannish with the Rome, he goes to the rabbis of the south, and he teaches them, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar, and Shmuel. And these 5 rabbis become the new catalyst of so much of the work that Rabbi Akiva is doing in the world as far as coming up with a language to inspire a generation of Jews that are already assimilating to Greek Roman culture, right? So how do you get it wrong? 24,000 students is an army, right? They should have got it right. How did it go so wrong? And why is this honor thing such a big deal that to the point where the lack of that honor created a shemata destruction that almost erased all the educators in Israel that had the power and the ability of inspiring a generation that could have easily been lost. So I want to highlight another Gemara that talks a little bit about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his story. Okay? One of the things we're celebrating Lag BaOmer is the fact that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai died, which is a weird sentence to say, you celebrate a death. But the Zohar says that on the 33rd of Omer, the 33rd night of the Omer, it's Hilulah, it's a marriage between souls, that Rabbi Shimon, this rabbi who's one of the 5 students of Rabbi Akiva, reached such a high exalted level that he had this marriage, his soul was reunited with the source, right, of sorts. So there's a connection. So we're celebrating not the fact that he died, we're celebrating the fact that his soul was able to reach this exalted state of connecting with the infinite. Okay? So his story is interesting. So he was living during times of the Romans. The Romans at this point had basically outlawed all Jewish education. It's kind of like the Soviet Union. And there were individuals who were kind of like the rebels, who were like the teaching Torah. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was actually caught for teaching Torah, and there was a warrant for his arrest, him and his son. Okay, and when they would catch him, death penalty. The breaking the law was, that's it. They would throw you up on a cross. Okay, so Rabbi Shimon finds out about this, and he decides to hide. He's going to go into hiding. So he first tries to hide in a local study hall, but it's too much attention to him. So then he goes ahead. He says, we gotta go completely off the grid. We're going into some cave. They find some cave somewhere in the south, and they're in this cave, and there is a small carrot tree in there, there's a small spring of water. They bury themselves in the sand, so their clothing doesn't wear out, and they're sitting and learning for 12 years straight. It's a long time, okay? They're in there for 12 years, okay? Now, however you want to understand this, they come out of this cave, and the Gemara tells us that the prophet Eliyahu comes and says, it's time for you to come out, okay? The decree has been annulled, the people that are looking for you are all dead, that regime is gone, now you're free to roam. So you'd imagine that you have these two guys, Rabbi Shimon and his son, right, who are these amazing sages, spent 12 years non-stop engaged in intense spiritual learning and growth, that when they would come out, they would be super mature guys. These guys would be the super outreach people. These guys were to come out and educate and change the world. That's what Rabbi Kiva wanted. His whole purpose of his 5 students were to come out and make a difference. But what ends up happening is surprising, okay? Nafku, right? They emerge from the cave, right? And they see people, right, who are plowing and sowing the field. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, these people, they abandoned an eternal life for their own sustenance? What kind of losers are these people? Right? That every place, Gemara says that every place that Rabbi Shimon and his son Rabbi Lazar directed their eyes, immediately burnt into flames. They literally got like laser vision and they're setting everything on fire. Right? So, listen, I've learned in the Beit Midrash, not for 12 years, but I don't know anyone that walks out of Beit Midrash now has, like Superman powers, like burn things up and into combusting flames. It doesn't work like that. So whenever the Gemara says something that's interesting, we have to ask the question, well, what are we supposed to learn from that? How do we understand the story? Like, these guys were sitting, they were learning, they were engaged in spiritual development, they're coming out and they see a guy what's he doing? He's got a job, right? He's supporting his family. Why does this guy deserve to be set on fire and burnt, right? A heavenly voice comes out and says to them, did you come out of this cave to destroy my world? You got to go back to the cave that you come from. In the more academic circles, by the way, if you're familiar with Aristotle's allegory of the cave, this story is the antithesis of that story, but that's for another time. So they sat in this, it's interesting, right? They go back into the cave, and they wait for 12 months. They say 12 months is the amount of time that when a soul is judged, Gehenom is less than 12 months. It must be we could emerge after the 12 months. And as they're debating it, a divine voice comes out and says, get out of the cave. You come out of the cave. So they come out of the cave. Now, everywhere that Rabbi Lazar would look at, he would set on fire, and Rabbi Shimon, his father, would heal it. So you just had another 12 months. You didn't learn the lesson the first time. You're coming out, you're setting everything on fire. And now the father, for some reason, he has a change of heart. We don't know why. But his son is still burning everything up. So the Gemara records and says that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says to his son Elazar, he says, my son, he says, Amar lo, Vini, dai la'olam ani v'ata. Right? The world, it would have been enough just for the two of us in the world. Don't get too excited about, what's going on. Just our own stuff is good. Don't worry about it. Which is like a weird response. Like, how is that helping the situation? Now, you'd think that at this point, Rabbi Shimon or Rabbi Elazar would learn some kind of tolerance, right? This is not tolerance at all. This is still intolerance. And the fact that he's got to heal and he's got to say this word over here, don't worry about it. Like, they're losers, basically. And the world it's just for the two of us. It's enough for the two of us. Forget about everybody else. How is that a response, even, of the rabbi? So, but it continues. Okay, the Gemara continues. And it says like this. It says that the sun was setting, right? It was Erev Shabbat. And they saw an elderly man who's holding 2 bundles of hadassim, of myrtle branches, right? And they're running. It's getting really late. Shabbat's coming, and they said to this guy, the rabbi and his son said to this guy, "Why are you holding these 2 bundles of myrtle?" So he says, "I have this to honor Shabbat." So why 2? He says, one for Shamor, one for Zachor, one for the remembering, and the other for safeguarding. So Rabbi Shimon turns to his son and says, Chazi kama chavivin mitzvot al Yisrael. See how dear these mitzvot, how beloved these mitzvot are for the Jewish people. Right? And it says that that their minds were put at ease, They were no longer upset at what they saw, and they were happy. That's the end of the Gemara. And we're supposed to walk away feeling like comfortable about that story. I'm so uncomfortable with that story. It's actually disturbing. It's super troubling. So the question is, what are we meant to learn from the story, right? So there's a couple of ways of understanding it. These ideas are based on several different sources that I kind of stitched together. So let's see if it makes sense for you. There's no question that a key component of Judaism is spirituality, right? Now, spirituality is a very difficult thing to control. The word spirituality is ruach, right? It's a spirit. It's uncontrollable. It's power. It's massive. It's ginormous. And if you take that powerful spirit and you put it into something that does not have the ability to maintain, control, direct that kind of spirit, not only will you burn the people around you, but you'll burn yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've had people come off of a race trip and say, Rabbi, I am ready to change my life. And I'm like, slow down, Sparky, you're not going anywhere, right? You're not going anywhere. There's one particular student, this is Tiffany, this is way back when, she was a 16-year-old girl that came to my house to help do some chesed a long time ago. And she decided to go to seminary, and she came back from seminary, and she's like, Rabbi, it's Rosh Hashanah, can I spend time with your family? Rosh Hashanah, my family doesn't keep the holiday, can I spend time with you? I'm like, no, you can't, sorry. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you have to learn how to live with your parents. Like, your parents, who's going to teach your parents Rosh Hashanah? It's not going to be me, they're not coming to my house. You're going to do it. She told me a few days before her wedding, she's like, I want you to know, she's like, I was so angry with you. I never felt so abandoned by someone who I trusted so much. How could you do that to me? She said, but now, at the wedding, her mom comes up to me and says, Rabbi, I know what you did with my daughter. Right? She says to me, I want to thank you. She says, I want to thank you because she told me how she wanted to go to your house and you wouldn't let her, and how you forced her to spend time with us. And she's like, I appreciate the holiday so much more now because of that. So thank you so much for what you did. So this is a classic example. Someone gets inspired, they want to go ahead and express their Judaism in its the fullest way possible, but they just don't understand how to express it in a way that's meaningful to the people around them. And for me, my family, I didn't grow up religious, and when the word religious is a very derogatory word in the Russian language. Yozny is a very bad word. And, the religious people are the crazy people, they're the fanatics, they're the opium for the masses people. That's not who you want to be a part of. You want to stay away from all those religious people. And I understood that the reason why my parents felt that way is because often religious people would create so many obstacles in building a relationship. I see people nodding their head, yeah, I know what you're talking about, Rabbi. Right? So, this creates so many obstacles to building that relationship that they're just strange. It's just a weird thing. Just be normal. Right? Just be normal. And what was happening in this story right here is that Rabbi Shimon spent 12 years internalizing these very deep spiritual messages, these very deep spiritual ideas. He did not know how to contain himself. So he's literally setting the world on fire. Because in his eyes, if you're not involved in any kind of spirituality, it's tantamount to death. You don't deserve to be alive. That was where he was coming from. But he has a turn of heart. He realized that he was too extreme. But not his son. His son was not able to internalize the message. So Rabbi Shimon is now working on healing the world. He doesn't work on stopping his son, because he still is somewhat aligned with his son. So he's healing it. He's fixing. Whatever he breaks, I'll fix. It's like a father-child relationship, I'm not ready to go ahead and reprimand him and give him the discipline that he needs, but I'll start fixing the things that this guy breaks. So I'm fixing and fixing and fixing and fixing. And now there's something that changes at the end of the story. Right? What happens? That instead of them sitting there and looking and judging the world, what do? They engage. They see a man carrying these 2 myrtle branches, these 2 bundles of myrtle, right? And instead of saying, set the guy on fire and heal him, what do? They ask him a question. Where are you going? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? And to their pleasant surprise, what he was involved in was beautiful. It may not have been what they wanted, but they still were able to see the beauty of the fact that this guy was engaged in something so simple as getting some flowers for Shabbat.
and trying to make Shabbat more meaningful. He wasn't the guy that was going to sit in the cave for 12 years. That wasn't his job. He was the guy that was working the field, and for him, that was his beautiful, unique way of expressing his Judaism. Right? It's powerful. So what ends up happening is like this. You have two people that are coming from a world hyper, super focused, my way or the highway, hypercritical, right? Cancel culture will set you on fire, right? Do not try to change my mind on anything. I'm not going to engage in any conversation. And I believe that the reason why the Gemara is telling us this is because Rabbi Shimon was a student of Rabbi Akiva, which means that his philosophy, this ideology of my way or the highway, I'm not saying it came from Rabbi Akiva or not, but maybe that's something similar that the students of Rabbi Akiva were suffering from. Lo nahagu kavod zeh lazeh. They were unable to give kavod one to the other. It's like a basic principle of just respecting somebody. How could you not give kavod to your parents? How can you not have just simple gratitude for the people that have helped you and done so much for you? I feel so indebted to so many people that helped me get to where I am, and I don't forget them. I pray for them. I think about them all the time. But are we those kinds of people that just take from the world around us? And if we are those kinds of people, we fail to learn the lesson of what it means to be a Jew. To be a Jew means to be someone that has tremendous amount of hoda'ah, right? Tremendous amount of just gratitude, a simple desire to feel grateful, to be thankful for the things that we have. And Rabbi Shimon comes out of the cave and he wants to burn the world that God created for him. That's not why we're here. Religion is not meant to be the Taliban. We come ahead and just set everything on fire because we don't like the way it is. We're supposed to engage in the conversation. There's a healing process in the Gemara of what Rabbi Shimon and his son go through to be able to appreciate the nuances of humanity. And the thing that I think that, for me, what encapsulates it is the fact that Gemara could have told me a story of anything they saw. Right? They could have seen, a guy giving tzedakah. They could have seen a guy doing something else. But it wasn't. It was specifically Shabbat. Shabbat is a time of holiness. It's a time of elevating the material into something that is spiritual. It's a time where I'm engaging in all of the material. I'm having a beautiful meal. I'm having people at my house. I'm having all the desserts. We're having the oneg. We're doing what we can to engage in the material world. But they're elevating it because they're using the material to something more. That was the lesson of Rabbi Shimon, something that he learned through very difficult circumstances, but ultimately was able to impart to his children. Now, we know that there's a precursor to Matan Torah, right? There's a precursor for the Jewish people to be able to receive the Torah. Why did God create the world? Right? I get that question all the time. Well, why did God create the world? So the classical answer that we get, which I think is the best answer, I don't know anyone else that attempts to give a different answer, is the Ramchal. Ramchal says in Derech Hashem, the reason why God created the world, he said, that God creates a world of kindness, and the reason why he creates the world is to bestow kindness to humanity. At the very least, all we can do as human beings, we want to mimic the Almighty. Our job is to go ahead and just be kind people at the simplest level. And I say this all the time. I have a family member who's he considers himself to be an atheist, but really he's an agnostic. But I said to him, God will forgive you for not keeping your Shabbat. God will forgive you for not keeping kosher. God will forgive you for whatever laws you are uncomfortable with doing. But He will not forgive you for not having common decency. He will not forgive you for not being able to just show gratitude to the people that deserve gratitude. There's certain laws that between man and man that's not, God can't forgive you that. Only humanity can forgive you that. Like if I wrong you, I can't ask God forgiveness. I have to ask you for forgiveness. At the core of what Lag BaOmer is about, and this holiday that we're celebrating, this long holiday of the Omer, just so it's clear, by the way, what does the word Omer mean? Anyone know? So the Omer is actually a measure, right? So it happens to be that during this time, the Omer, the Midah, the measure is a barley offering. There's one other time that we bring a barley offering, and it's with the Sotah. Isha Sotah. She also brings a barley offering, right? This is a woman that was accused of adultery. She brings a barley offering as well. And there's a relationship between the two offerings. The idea, I think, is like this. If we're meant to elevate ourselves in something